Hey, how's it going, Jeff?
Oh, it's busy. I'm working on several books right now. How are you doing?
I'm busy too. I've got a class next week, so I'm polishing up my keynote. But what I really want to do is get out of this house with my camera and make some photos.
Me too. It's hard to know where to start, though. I mean, what we need is a handy guide, packed with hard-earned advice, but gets right to the point.
Yeah, I think you might have been locked inside too long, Jeff. Rocky Nook just published that very book.
And I'd call it something really straightforward, like the travel photography book, and find someone really prolific to write it.
Yeah, someone like Scott Kelby. You know, he's someone who travels, writes numerous awesome books, teaches classes, creates videos, plays a wicked guitar.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And knowing Scott, I mean, he's probably written 3 books like that just this morning.
It's only been 2. It's been a slow morning.
Scott Kelby!
Good morning, gentlemen.
Scott Kelby is one of the most prolific authors and photo educators we know.
And he's just published his latest title in the wildly successful The Something book series, dedicated entirely to travel photography.
Travel photography sounds like fun with a camera, but it can be complicated. Heck, travel itself is complicated.
So we're starting to plan trips for the summer, so the timing of this book couldn't be better. I'm Jeff Carlson.
And I'm Mason Marsh. Welcome to Photocombobulate, Scott.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me here. And crank up the music. Let's talk travel.
Wow, it sure is great to have Scott Kelby here. He is a master of a lot of things, a great photo educator, obviously a great author. I have been looking, Scott, through your new book, the travel photography book. And at first, I got to say, when I cracked it open and I saw that it was just page after page after page of these really succinct tips, I was like, this is a really kind of strange way to put together a book. But the more I followed through it, I was like, this is brilliant.
Yeah. Well, and let's jump in real quick and explain for people who haven't seen any of these books, because he also has some other ones like just the photography book. And the structure of it is basically one page is its own lesson. And you've got a nice big picture, and here's a thing to learn. And it's not a whole lot of, okay, now we're going to spend 5 pages dictating the history of how cameras worked. And, you know, I mean, you've all read those books and seen those books, and there's a place for those books. But I got to tell you, and I am also a book author, and it's Scott's books that I recommend to most people who want to get started. I was like, look, this is the place to go because you're going to learn all the essential stuff. It's completely digestible, and and then you can branch out into more of the theory and all of that. So it's a great format. It is. It's a great format, and like they're full color. They're not very large. You can absolutely take them with you when you go on your travel trip. So another brilliant part about this title especially.
Yeah,
Jeff, here's what you're missing about these. Because you're an author. Just think about this. It's only 1 paragraph per page.
I don't even know how to process that.
Just think about that, right? It's a picture and then a paragraph that describes what's going on in the picture, and then you're on to the next. But this is why you can write one of these before breakfast. It's because you're not writing pages, you're writing a paragraph. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because that was one of the first things I said to Jeff when we got the edition of the book. I was looking at it on my iPad and I'm like, it's just like it's like a little snippet per page. And I said, how fun that must be to write that way. And then I read the introduction and you were talking about this is sort of like you and I, or the reader and you, traveling together. And I'm like, hey, Scott, I want to get those things in focus. What would you do? And it's exactly those types of answers. And that is how most adults learn as an educator. And you know this, right? Most adults learn in short spurts. We're not good Once you reach a certain age, you can't sit there for 4 hours absorbing information. You need to get it in little bite-sized things you can chew on without choking, right? So I want to jump right into some of your tips, and we're not going to go through the book itself because I want to save that experience for people to buy the book. Please, by the way, people, go buy the book on Rocky Nook. But I do want to ask you, if we were really traveling together, and let's say we're going to Rome, which I know is one of your favorite places. If we went to Rome, would it be more important for you in the morning to go out and take photos or to get a really good coffee?
Okay, there's an order. I have to have, when I get out of bed in the morning, including today and every day, the very first thing is coffee.
Okay, good.
I cannot function now. I only need 1 cup per day. I don't have to drink coffee all night. Once in a while, I'll have one after dinner. But coffee is like, I need coffee in my room. That is like the key thing. Now, and then I am up super early. I am up first thing in the morning. I'm up before dawn, out on location while it's still dark. So it's coffee and then immediately zoom out and leave. And there's so many great places in Rome. Now, there's great places for coffee as well. And in Rome, sometimes I would go get that second cup just because it's Rome. And the coffee is so good. But yeah, it starts with coffee, then a shoot, and perhaps another coffee.
Perhaps another coffee. Excellent. You know, one of the things that I talk about I teach a travel photography course to mostly people who are retired, who have time to travel and the resources to travel. And one of the first lessons, I spend a great deal of time talking about getting yourself ready to make photos and not just racing to the camera, but doing all of the work necessary to sort of set yourself up for success. And I think coffee is a big part of that, right? Or taking care of yourself so that you're ready to be creative. So other than the coffee and getting up early, what are some of your tips for making it possible to make awesome photos when you do get to where you're headed at the right time, at the right place, with the right gear? What are some of those steps in getting that your head together and things like that?
I think one of the things is not letting the equipment get in the way of what you're trying to accomplish. It's very easy to get really sucked into the equipment side of this. And so the first thing that I would tell people is, when you're going to do travel photography, travel as light as you possibly can. Because when you're dealing with a lot of gear and you have a backpack full of stuff and all, you're not getting in the zone. You're not in the moment. And there are 2 parts of this. The great thing about travel photography is actually enjoying the travel experience. Mm-hmm. Like I don't want to go to some place and have seen the whole thing through a tiny viewfinder. Right? I want you to be able to experience and love all of it. Love the coffee, love the breakfast immediately after the shoot, all those things. So the first thing, and I think this is a big key, and so I do workshops. I have a workshop coming up in Prague in about 45 days. And this one has been delayed since March of 2020.
Oh, man.
And it's all the same people. They've hung in all this time, and we're finally getting to go. But I send a newsletter to my workshop folks, and the first topic is always, however much gear you think you're going to bring, take it all out of your bag. And so what I try to do, and I think, like, if I want to set somebody up for success at a dawn shoot, the first thing I would say is, if you can take one lens, you're going to enjoy this shoot so much more. And I think that we have this fear that we're going to get out there and go, oh no, I'm going to miss this shot because I didn't bring the right lens. Bring a lens. Like, what I shoot with is a 24 to 240. So what other lens am I going to need that morning? I'm covering 24 to 240. Now, it was interesting because I used to shoot a lens. I used to shoot Nikon, and I used to shoot a Nikon lens that was really good. They're 28 to 300. And I thought what I wanted was another 28 to 300. And I was at a meeting at Canon's headquarters, and I'm complaining to them that their 28 to 300, it's this big. It's bigger than a 70 to 200, and it was heavy, and it was so old that it was a push pull. Like you didn't turn the barrel, you pushed my business. And it's expensive. It was like $3,000. It was just awful. And they said, what about a 24 to 240? I'm like, no, it's got to be 300. And they said something really important. And this is why this is my go-to travel lens. They said, look, if it's 240, you can crop it to 300, 400, 500, but you can't go any wider.
Yeah.
So if we give you, instead of a 28, we give you a 24, you can't make a wide angle any more wide without doing a pano. But you can, and I was like, oh, I want a 24 to 240, and Sony already had one. Sony were the first ones to have that 24 to 240. And so what I would tell folks is, take one lens. Now, if you feel like I must take a second lens, take a sling bag. Just a bag big enough to switch lenses. And then in my sling bag, I use a Think Tank Turnstile 10, I think it is. And it goes across your body, so you don't have all the weight on your shoulder. No one can run and grab it off your shoulder, because that happens. I've heard stories of people dislocating their shoulders as a young kid runs by and rips the camera off your shoulder. So this goes across your body, and when I want to change lenses, I pull it in front of me, I unzip it, there's my lens, there's my cleaning cloth, I have a platypod, I have a ball head. It's amazing what that little bag holds. It's the smallest bag, it's like this big. It's so small and holds so much. But when you're not messing with a bunch of equipment, you can actually get in the zone and stop worrying about, do I have the right lens? Do I have the right focal length? What do I need? Because really, this is all the technical should go out the window at this point. You're in a beautiful location. You're there at the right time. Everything is set up for your success except for you. And this is, I think, what you were alluding to when you were asking that question. So for you to be in the moment and really enjoy it, less is more. Don't bring a bunch of equipment. Don't bring a bunch of accessories. You know, certainly if you're shooting at dawn, you're going to want to have a tripod. I would use your phone to trigger your camera, because you can get a free app from everybody. Sony, Fuji, Nikon, OM System, or whatever it's called now. Olympus.
Probably different today.
Nobody knows. But
Nobody knows.
Each one of those has a free downloadable app, and you can just sit there right beside your computer, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, tap your thumb, take the picture. You can really enjoy the morning, and it is great. But you're looking at this scene, right? And you're only going to get one location at dawn, right? Because you want to shoot before the sun comes up. You want to get in place. And so you're not going to get 10 locations at dawn unless they're all within 15 feet of each other. So get set up and take that shot, and just enjoy being in that city when the streets are empty and it's quiet and there's not tourists. I always think, so for example, Rome, you mentioned Rome. I took my students to Rome one morning. We wanted to shoot the Vatican Museum, that beautiful front and all. And I thought, well, we're going to get there at 5:15 a.m. and all. And I said, look, we want to be the first ones there to kind of stake out our spot. And no one else showed up at all. No one.
Wow.
Not a single other photographer. And then in Paris, I did a workshop in Paris. We all wanted to get to up high overlooking the Eiffel Tower for dawn. We got to get there early. Not a single other photographer. It's just us. Now, here's what's weird. When the light comes up, the sun is risen, and the light gets bad, here come the photographers.
Yeah, because the buses start pulling up. Yeah.
Yep, here they all come. Like, we're leaving, getting ready to go to breakfast, and they're just showing up, and we're like, you missed the good light. You missed the amazing stuff. So, but being able to enjoy that moment, to get set up early, you're not rushing, you're not trying to get all your gear out. You don't sit there with this big backpack pulling stuff out and all. And I would say that would be the first bit of advice. If you really want to have some success, go in with this. You're still on vacation. Very few of us get to say, we're not living the Joe McNally life where National Geographic sends us to some amazing location. I got my wife and my kids, and you know what it is? If you take those tour buses, they leave right after the good light. And then they come back just in time for you to miss the good light. They're designed to be miserable to photographers.
Right.
But so this is your chance. You're all alone. Streets are empty. The smell of coffee fills the air. It's just, you were in the perfect zone to really enjoy the experience. You're going to get a great picture. You got good gear. And let me ask you, I want your guys, can I ask you an opinion question?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So are you both on mirrorless?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not
Are there-
dinosaurs for crying out loud.
No, but so let me ask you, this is a legit question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Do you know anybody that has a mirrorless lens? They actually bought a lens for mirrorless, and they say it's not sharp. Even if it's a $250 lens, like, I don't know anybody that deals with lens sharpness issues anymore. All the lenses that are being made today, Tamron, Sigma, Zeiss, Canon, Nikon, of course, all you can't buy a lens that isn't sharp anymore.
No,
Am I off on this?
No, not at all.
Not if it was made for mirrorless. Yeah, I mean, if you can adapt
for
a bad
mirrorless.
lens to a mirrorless
Oh,
camera.
yes, you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's something I tell my students that, I used to really caution people, like, make sure you buy the lens that's made by the company that made your camera. And now it's like, no,
Right.
don't worry
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a lens that
You can-
fits what you'd like to do.
You can buy one of those, what is it? I can't think of the Samyang. $250 lenses. Oh my gosh, a buddy sent me a picture this morning that he took out west this last week with a $300 lens. And he's like, you got to zoom in and look at this thing. It's $300 and it's sharp as a tack. They're doing Milky Way shots.
Wow.
Sharp as a tack.
Wow.
And then you've got, at the end of the day, the great equalizer is, I don't know if you guys use this plugin, Topaz AI. It's called Topaz Sharpen AI. And it uses artificial intelligence. And literally all you do is you open the photo and it says applying and you click OK.
That's it.
You don't have to put in any numbers. And it's insane. It's so good. So even if you have a marginal old DSLR lens and you're like, it's not as sharp as I want it to be, for $69, you get this plug-in. And we're all using it. Like everybody I know, we're all using it now. It's like our secret weapon because you just open it and wait. Okay.
Wow.
That's
I gotta
it.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's so good. And you can
amazing.
go download it for free. You can do the demo.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll be stunned.
Yeah.
You'll be like, this is my new jam. It's like,
Well,
I
and
do love
also-
sharp photos.
Yeah.
we all do, right?
Well, and going back to that experience in the morning, I have to say, and I don't know, this might just sound terrible, but there is a certain satisfaction of getting there early, being the first ones there, so you're not rushed at all, and then the light comes up and you pack up and you leave, and then like people start showing up, either other photographers, tourists, or whatever, and I don't know, there's just this satisfaction of, okay, I did well today because I was here and I saw the light, and now I don't have to be with all these other people. This has happened several times. So north of me here in Seattle, up in LaConner, they have these massive tulip fields. It's one of the biggest tulip producing areas in the country. And so you go up there before you can see anything, 5 o'clock in the morning, and shoot the sunrise over the tulip fields. And every time I've done this, we've packed up, headed off to breakfast, and look over, like one field over, and there's just a line of cars, starting to show up. And that all these people are going to be fighting with all the other people to find a good spot, and just the satisfaction of being able to have some control over your environment, especially when you're traveling, because there are so many places you travel where you get there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's just going to be a mess, right? And so giving yourself, with a little bit of work, giving yourself a little bit of breathing space, then like the rest of your day is much better. Like, okay, yeah, it's going to be crowded at this spot, but oh man, this morning was great, so I can deal with this.
Yeah, you invested in yourself, and we talk about this a lot. You did something to make the shot. right? Like you went this extra step. Everyone else is sleeping. You got up. You're tired. You got out there. And there is this satisfaction from like, you know what? I can hope to get lucky. And you're going to have to get lucky when the light is bad to get a good shot. Because now you're dealing with, you've got tourists, you've got bad light. You've set yourself up for a fail. But when you get up that extra early amount and you get there and you're in place, you're going to enjoy it on so many different levels. And it's funny, I remember I was doing a portfolio review of a student. I was teaching at the Santa Fe workshops. I was doing a portfolio review, and they had a printed portfolio. And I opened the first picture, and I'm like, oh, this is beautiful, right? This is gorgeous, And then I turn the page, and there's that barn in Wyoming. You know the barn in Wyoming. Yeah. There's only one barn, and that's it. And then I turn the next page. It's just a beautiful shot in beautiful light in the perfect location. And I turn the next page. I'm like, what happened? What happened here? And you know what they said? Oh, well, the other 3 shots were taken during a workshop. And this other one, I got up, and they didn't get up early. They didn't do the thing, and they had a horrible shot in horrible light. It was just everything bad, and you're like, beautiful, 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 horrible. What was the difference at the workshop? The only difference was they got up early, they got in position. They shot in great light, and it made beautiful photos. But when they were on their own, they're there at 2:00 in the afternoon, the worst possible light, and it was stunning because you're like, wow, this person's really good. And then, I stand corrected. What happened here? It was like a different photographer stepped in. But one of the things like that a workshop does is makes you get up early. And I know that sounds silly, but that's part of it, whether you're shooting landscapes or you're shooting travel. And I don't think people think of it that much for travel. I think a lot of times they'll think, well, we want good light and all. But with travel, you get 2 things. You get the great light, but you get the empty streets. You get the wet cobblestones. You get a view of like the Colosseum in Rome or whatever. You're at the Eiffel Tower with no one there, because nothing kills a shot like a bunch of tourists milling around in front of your shop. So when you do get up early like that, it makes all the difference in the world. It's the difference between that portfolio of great shots and then this 3:00 or 2:00 in the afternoon, high noon, awful shot. So yeah, Jeff, I totally do get it. There is this feeling of accomplishment that I invested in my photography today. I got up early. I went and did something that other photographers weren't willing to do, and I got the fruits from it. And while everybody else is fighting the tourists, I'm having a fantastic Roman breakfast.
Right. Well, and I don't know if this is something that you guys have also experienced, but it also tends to relieve some pressure of, here I am in this amazing location, and I went and I got some good shots, and I feel pretty good because I got some good shots. I had a good experience. So if I am out somewhere later and I'm thinking, this could be a good shot, or maybe I'm trying to do some street photography or something that doesn't necessarily require like that amazing light.
Right.
There's still that satisfaction of, look, I made a set of good photos today, or at the very least, I had a good photographic experience. So I'm not feeling that stress of, I spent all this money to get here and I haven't shot anything, and I think of myself as a photographer, but here I am just wandering around, not taking any pictures, and I've wasted, and like that whole ball of craziness,
of stress.
And you're on vacation. You're not supposed to be stressed. That's the whole point. So getting that out of the way even can just make you think, all right, you know what? I did a good job today. Now I'm going to go find the best croissant in this area of town.
That's right. Yeah. Now you get to have the reward.
Yeah.
And your afternoon is free for some light shoplifting. So
perfect.
It's perfect. It's ideal.
Take your naps.
Find the photographers that are just having the bag over the shoulder. No, never mind.
Yeah. So one of the things I tell my kids is, if you make your bed in the morning, you start with success, right? And I want to follow up on what Jeff said and what you said, Scott. I'm a morning person. For me, sunrise is the best time of day. And Jeff is the opposite. He's had to learn this. He's had to learn this. So when we're traveling together, and Jeff gets up early in the morning, I know he's making big sacrifices to get that morning light. So when you're traveling, and I travel on vacation with my family, they're not morning people. They want to sleep in, or they want to hit the pool, or whatever. Those are my moments. That's like, great, I'm going to get up at 3:30 and I'm going to be out of here, quietly sneak out of the room, and I'll be back at 8:30 and I'll be totally bushed and tired, but I will have nailed some stuff down that will make the rest of the day just gravy. So I want to talk about the rest of the day, because when you're traveling and you're putting in these long days where you're getting up pre-dawn, possibly staying up late, getting some cool night shots of the city or Milky Way shots or whatever. How do you lay out your day when you're traveling, Scott, so you don't wear yourself out and end up sick or end up, uncreative?
So I do start with a morning shoot wherever I'm at. I don't do it every day. I usually do it if I'm going to be in a city for 4 days. I do the first 2 days, I take a day off, and then I do the last day. So I do take a break one day, and I do try to plan a sunset shoot every day. In the middle of the day, even in my workshops, when I do a workshop, we take a siesta. So we are on break from lunchtime until 5.
Oh, nice.
So we take a 5-hour break because we all got up at dawn.
Yep.
We shoot, we go to breakfast, we're in the classroom. We're in the classroom and we're in the classroom by 9, so we're in there till lunch. And then you need to go catch up on some sleep. You need to do whatever sightseeing that you want to do and shopping and stuff like that. So I do take my afternoons pretty easy. Now, one of the first things that I'll do if I go to a new city, if it's a city I've never been to before, I go and I take that 2-hour bus tour. Mm-hmm. It's the very first thing I do. And here's the thing, and this is hard. What I'm about to explain to you is going to be way more challenging than it sounds. When you take that bus tour, ready? You have to leave your camera in your room. Mm-hmm. And you think, oh, I can do that. Sure. And then you're walking out the room to go on the bus tour. First day in the town, never been there before. Let's just say you're, in some place you've never been, Budapest. And you're like, wow, I want to see this place. And you see your camera laying there on the bed and you go, I'll just take it just in case. No, don't do it. Just take your phone. Mm-hmm. Just take your phone. Because your phone, number one, you're not going to take serious pictures with it. Now, you can. So don't get me wrong. But sure. If you have your mirrorless and you're there, or your DSLR, you're going to say, I'm going to take my serious pictures with my DSLR, and I'll take my behind the scenes and video and other stuff, family photos. Hey, let's do a selfie. You're not going to hold a DSLR out there. So right. I do think a second camera for travel is your phone. So don't get me wrong. I love my phone. But when you have your phone, it has GPS built into it, and you can go on. So I think of the 2-hour bus trip as a scouting trip. Mm-hmm. What places that I did not find in my research before I came to Budapest do I want to come back to? Am I going to see some little alleyway with a fountain that just looks so charming that wasn't on any map or any place else? I can just take a picture of it, and it's embedded the GPS data. I can open it in my phone app, and it will take me to the GPS coordinates and show me a satellite photo of where I was standing when I took the photo. So I'm using that, my second camera, as I want to come back here. I want to come back here. Ooh. And then you also find out, and this is big, the first time I went to Rome, I was going to get up at dawn and go to the Colosseum. And you get one shot in the morning, right? I'm going to do the Colosseum. I take the 2-hour bus tour, and the Colosseum is covered in scaffolding. Oh, yeah. The entire thing. So, but I knew right then, tomorrow we pick something else. We're not going to go there because there's not a shot here. It's under renovation. And by the way, everything is under renovation. So it's really good to see. Happened to me in France when they had these big wood things around the opera house. They were doing a renovation to the front of the opera house. So I don't want to get up here in the morning. And I would only know that because I drove right past it on the bus. And like, there's the opera house. And I'm like, oh no, I was coming there tomorrow morning. Okay, good. I'm not going to waste a shot. I already know it's unshootable. So, and sometimes it'll be it's not that it's under restoration, but they'll set up a stage right in front for a concert that's going to happen that weekend. and it just looks terrible. It just does, it's not under restoration, but still you're like, I'm not going to shoot this. Or there's a crane out front or some other thing. So it's taking that 2-hour bus tour does two things. It lets you see the city. You get 2 hours of like, okay, this is, and you hear the history and the whole night. I put the little headphones in, I listen to as we go, but I have my phone. It's in my hand. It's ready to go. And I know if I see a place I want to, also I can just shoot a street sign if I want to make it even easier. But that has paid off for me so many times. And it is now my preferred thing to do. If it's a city I haven't been to, it's day one, morning one, go get that 9 a.m. 2-hour bus. The hop on and hop off, but I don't hop off. I just sit on top. I try to sit on top if I can tolerate the weather, so you have it clear. But don't take your DSLR. No one has ever won a photo contest with a photo taken from the second floor of a tour bus. That's generally, you're going to get basically a lot of bald heads. You're not going to get a lot of like, wow, I got this magical shot on the tour bus. It just generally doesn't go that way.
Yeah. I went to Copenhagen a couple summers ago and did a 3-hour boat tour of Copenhagen, which is, the comparable experience. And I did, like you said, I used my phone, and instead of taking photos, I kind of just looked at the map as we were going and said, okay, I'm going to make sure I go back to that spot. And I was very much in scouting mode. And one of the parts of your book that I really appreciated was at the beginning, talking about scouting. And I think that for me, when it comes to travel, I don't get to travel that often. So if I have a trip coming up in 6 months, I've got 6 months of fun ahead of me of looking at Google Earth and going on, Flickr and 500px and looking at everybody's photos and scouting, this virtual scouting experience that you talk about in the book. But when you get there, you do want to do that local ground truth thing where you're like,
sure.
Is it under renovation, or is it, blocked by another building that wasn't there before, that sort of thing. And I want to know from you, this flexibility, I think, is a key component of travel. How much planning is in your mix, and how much do you leave open for serendipity?
I leave the afternoons open for serendipity. Okay. I do want to make sure that I know where I'm going. But I to be honest with you, I do my research the week before I go. I know that sounds silly because the right way to do it is the way you're doing it. But I do. I travel a lot, so I'm always going someplace else. So I'm literally the week before, and I'm like, well, I better figure out where I'm shooting. And so I start. I will also sometimes hire a fixer. Mm-hmm. So I will, and usually you find a fixer by going on Twitter or Facebook, or or someone mentions a fixer online, like, oh, I was with this great guide who, and you have to be careful. I think it's important for your listeners to know there's a difference between a photo guide and a photo fixer. Mm-hmm. A photo guide is someone who leads you to tourist spots to take photos. Right. Mm. A photo fixer is the guy that has a connection at the cathedral to get you in before the public's allowed and gets you up in places the public isn't allowed, so you can shoot from the organ on the second floor and you can get these sweeping shots and you're right there when the light's amazing and stuff like that. That's a photo fixer. A photo fixer is a guy who can bribe the guard at the door of the hotel to get you on the roof in Dubai to shoot sweeping shots of the city. I mean, that's a fixer. A fixer is a guy who's got connections and he'll get you in. I remember hiring a fixer in San Francisco, and we're driving and we pull into this really cool area overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge. And of course, there's a big fence and a lock. He gets out, unlocks the lock. He's got the key. He has the connection. He knows the guy, and you're like, oh my gosh! I think, how are we getting in here? He has the key. And so that's a photo fixer. A photo fixer is magical and will get you. I had a fixer in Rome, and they got us into cathedrals, and they got us into places I didn't even know existed. And it was just, when you get that, it makes all the difference in the world. Now, you're investing in your photography financially now, not just in your time, but you're going to spend a few $100. But I mean, when you think of how I've been to Rome twice in my whole life, right? And and you think, I may get back here again. I may not.
Right.
This is my shot. And if I can spend $200, when you think of what we spend on lenses and stuff, and it's like, $200 and I can get into these places and have them take me to, even if fixers also know the best restaurants.
Yeah.
Like they know places you're never going to find, and and they order for you in Italian.
Nice.
So you can say things to them like, and can you have them make the bread really thin and toast it just a little bit and all? And they know how to say all of that in Italian. So it's just, there's so many levels of what a fixer can bring. And often they'll have their own car. And it's just the stuff that a great fixer can bring. And many of the photos that we have seen in major magazines and stuff were made with, some of the most famous photos ever were made with the help of a fixer who arranges either someone. I had a fixer in China for a workshop I did right before the pandemic, like 3 months before the pandemic. I'm in China in the middle of nowhere. We had 2 fixers that were just unbelievable, and they wouldn't even tell us what they were doing. Like we would get there, and then they would say, okay, here's what we've done.
Yeah. So
we get to these rice fields, these multi-tiered rice fields that if you have Apple TV, one of the screensavers are these a slow drone shot of these amazing rice fields in China. We were right there.
Wow.
And they hired 3 village women to dress in red so it would stand out and carry these baskets on their head and stuff. And we get there and they're meeting with the women and it's all set. And then we go to a little tiny village. And here's a man who's already set up to bring us in their house to pose for our pictures in incredible light, wearing a traditional outfit. And you're just like, where are you going to get this stuff? Yeah. Where are you going to get a fixer's going to, like, I don't know anybody in a village in China. I didn't even know where I was. But they also got a museum in this town and hired a model in a traditional outfit. And we had the run of the place for 2 hours. Wow. They closed the museum and let us go in there. And the fixer arranged every bit of it and the model releases and every single thing.
Wow.
And so how do you get these shots? And you look at these and you go, well, how did you get this? A photo fixer. That's their job. That's how they make their living. It's just like when you make a movie, you have location scouts that know particular places and they have access to places that you wouldn't find. And that's how they make their living. It's different than a photo guide.
Yeah.
If you hire a photo guide, you're going to be disappointed because you're going to go to places everyone can go.
Yeah, and they're going to say this is the photo you want to take, and that always bristles me. I'm like, you don't know what I want to take.
That happened to me. We went to Monument Valley, and they said, you have to get, I believe it was a Navajo guide to get into any place other than the visitor center. And a buddy of mine knew a Navajo guide and all. Well, unfortunately, he wasn't available, but his friend was, and his friend took us to a spot, and I'm not making this up. We get out to this arch and he keeps pointing to the ground and we're like, what? And there was an X where we're supposed to stand.
Yeah. We've curated it all for you.
How many photographers stood on this X to shoot right through this arch, right to this tree, right to this scene? It was literally an X. And we're all like, oh, we're supposed to stand there? And he's like,
well, let's drill down on that a little bit, Scott. As a traveling photographer, as someone who has been seemingly all over the place, and someone who's led workshops too, how do we get shots that haven't been done to death? And do you take? I mean, I've been to that barn in Wyoming. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. It's
required by federal law.
Yeah,
Everyone
I had a
barn.
great morning there a couple years ago. But when I shot there, I was like, well, I'm not doing anything new. And I'm standing on ground. It doesn't have an X on it, but it's a well-worn path. When you're traveling, having a fixer can help you get to places that other people don't necessarily go to. But are you interested in getting shots that have been done before, or are you trying to get new stuff? What's your sort of goal with that?
This is weird because I do both. Mm-hmm. I go and I get the classic shot, and I'll explain why. And I actually talked about this in the book. But I always tell people, you got to get the classic shot. Like if you go to Paris, just go stand in front of the Eiffel Tower and get the classic shot. And ready? Show it first. Like when you get back, right? And you've got your iPad and you have all your photos and you're about to show your neighbors, your friends, whoever your photos. This is a weird psychological thing, but I've seen it happen so many times. If I were to say, all right, gentlemen, close your eyes, and to your viewers, close your eyes and picture Paris. What do they picture? What's the first thing that happens? They probably picture the Eiffel Tower. If I say, picture London, they probably picture Big Ben, right? There are these things that we have ingrained in our mind that represent that place. So what I found, and this is really, it's a weird psychological thing. If you start showing your artistic, wonderful, cool pictures of Paris and you're swiping through, you will notice that the person that you're showing starts to get anxious. They're waiting for that photo of the Eiffel Tower. And they will literally say, did you get any shots of the Eiffel Tower?
Didn't you see
Do you
the
have
Eiffel
a shot
Tower?
of Big Ben? Did you? And so they're not enjoying what you're showing them. They're waiting for that Eiffel Tower shot. So I stand right in front of the Eiffel Tower. I take that shot and I start with it, and they can go, there's the Eiffel Tower. And then they can enjoy your other photography. But when they're waiting to see the thing they expect to see, they're not seeing your stuff. They can't wait for those photos to get past to get to the one. So I shoot them both.
Interesting.
It is very, very challenging to get a shot of the Eiffel Tower that hasn't been taken to death. But this is also, as a photographer, a wonderful challenge. I went and got the obvious shot straight down there, straight down the grass, right towards it. But then the shot I wanted to make, and I've tried different ones, and I had a fixer, by the way. And the first time I went to France, not the first time. First time I went to France, I was 24, so 6 years ago.
Sure.
Sure.
It's photo math. It's okay.
I will tell you about my fixer though, because I have an interesting, real quick story. But
Excellent.
I thought, well, I got to show this in a different way. So all I tried to show was there around on either side of the Eiffel Tower there are apartment buildings, very nice apartment buildings. They look like they've been there for 500 years, and I just wanted to get like a part of a leg, because when you actually, it's taller than the Empire State Building. It's very, very tall. And so when you get there, you don't realize the scale of it is amazing. And when you're first there, because it's in a big open field, you get the scale. But when you're over at those apartments, you have just this giant leg. It seems massive. So getting pieces of it, getting little parts of it and stuff, I found that to be very interesting. And so I spent most of my time shooting pieces of it. But there are also other locations, and a guy sent me to a bridge called Bar Hakim, which does not sound like it would be a bridge in France, but it is an old deco bridge that trains run over. Well, it is on the other side of the Seine River, and you can shoot under this archway, and there is the Eiffel Tower. And so what I love about doing this is you're getting a shot of the Eiffel Tower without shooting it. In other words, it's not a shot of the Eiffel Tower, but the Eiffel Tower is part of the scene, so it says to everyone France. And I also did that with my workshop in Paris. I stayed in a Holiday Inn. Now, for Americans, listen, Americans think Holiday Inn, but in Europe, Holiday Inns are very nice. It's like a whole different thing. It's not what you think of here. This was a beautiful hotel, and it had a rooftop bar, which all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, Holiday Inn rooftop bar? Yeah. That doesn't make sense. But it was beautiful. And we hired a model and I did the thing. I surprised my students and go, guys, we have a special shoot on the roof. We go up to the roof. Here's the skyline of Paris, and there's the Eiffel Tower, and we bring in a model. 2 hours before the shoot, the model that a friend had helped. So my friend's daughter works on Paris Fashion Week. She knew a model, and she said she's great. She'll do it. I contact her. Everything's set. 2 hours before the shoot, she calls and cancels. She cancels. Now I have no model, but a great roof. And she goes, she says, I can't make it, but I'm going to send my sister. So she says, don't worry, she's great. She's very qualified. She'll do a good job. Well, she gets there, and she's lovely. And we get up there, And one of the participants in my workshop says, I looked her up on Google. And I said, yeah. And he goes, and he shows me his phone. Ready? The sister was France's Miss Universe contestant for the year before. She was the Miss Universe.
That's your backup
for
model.
France. That was my backup model.
Oh man!
And she was great. She was great. Now we bought costumes and stuff in the United States and took them to France with us.
Oh, wow.
Long black gloves, and I was trying to do like a 1940s like noir thing with the Eiffel Tower in the background, so it's not the thing. Hey, so I do want to tell you who my fixer was the first time I went to Paris. It's like 10 years ago. A buddy of mine had gone and hooked up with a guy that was, said, hey, I saw you on, your podcast. And so, so when I was there, I wanted to do a class, a travel photography class in France. And he said, oh, you got to call this guy. And the guy spent, 4 days with us and we became great friends. And he literally got us into crazy places. He got us into Le Train Bleu, which is a very, very famous restaurant located in the Paris Nord train station.
Oh, wow.
It looks like you're shooting in the Palace of Versailles. It's unbelievable inside. Before they served breakfast, not only did they let us come in and film a video, they served us breakfast.
Wow.
I mean, this guy had connections that were crazy. Do you know who the guy was?
No.
Now a tremendously famous educator and photographer, Serge Remilly.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, Serge, I mean, he's super famous, huge following, millions of followers.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, it was Serge, and he was our fixer.
He's a lot of fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
Serge is great. You know what my favorite thing about Serge is? So, Serge lives here in the United States now. In fact, he lives in my hometown. I run into Serge here and there, and we'll grab lunch or whatever and stuff. And we've become great friends. And my wife and I went back and went on vacation with him and his wife and his family. They're lovely, just lovely people.
Oh, cool.
But what I like about Serge is when he starts his podcasts, he's very, very French. And then after about 30 seconds, he becomes 100% California. Because he was living in LA, so he's like, Monsieur and Mademoiselle, bonjour, welcome, Monsieur Jamili, I am a photographer for France. And anyway, today what we're going to do is we're going to work on. He goes from French to I'm from California in like 5, and I always tease him about it. So when he comes on my podcast or he teaches at one of our conferences or something, he always starts very French on purpose.
Yeah,
and he uses this really thick, but he is actually from just outside of Paris, and he's extremely French, but he's super guy. But he's a fixer. He's a guy that's got connections and knows how to get you. Dude, I couldn't believe, because I had read about this place, Le Train Bleu. I couldn't even get in there for dinner, and we're in there and they're serving us breakfast.
That's amazing.
And it was a good
Yeah.
Wow, what a breakfast. And I was there with Jay Maisel. So I was doing an interview with Jay Maisel. And so we're in there having breakfast at Le Train Bleu, and I'm just like, I can't believe we're here. And we got to shoot the place and all. Mm-hmm. That's a fixer.
I gotta get a fixer now. I mean,
gotta get a fixer.
Seriously.
I've never even thought of that. What I often will end up doing is hitting up a barista or a wait staff person, and be like, what are some places around here where the locals hang out? And I've had some decent success with that, but they're not photography fixers. They don't have this. A lot of times they'll be like, well, the place I like to go hang out that has the best food, and you won't see any tourists there. It's great for restaurants, but not necessarily best for photography. But I do want to ask you a couple more questions on some of the logistical things of travel, because a lot of people, travel photographers especially, they're really focused on the photography and they miss out on the travel. We tend to have head down on camera sort of experiences. And I feel like my limited amounts of travel that I've done, my photos from those trips are great and I like them and I'm thrilled that I took those photos. But the memories I have of those spots are actually more cherished to me. So one of the things that I like about your book is how you share the images that you make when you get back home. And you talk about making books, you talk about making websites, and all of the ways that we can share now with social media. How do you convey your whole travel experience that is much broader than just the photos you took? when you're trying to share these stories, how do you convey that?
Okay, so this is a sticky thing for me personally that will be different than for most people. So my wife has a rule that we do not share pictures of our children online. We don't even give their names. We have nicknames for our kids. And it was because I had a weird stalker guy that was literally sitting outside my house and weird stuff, following me around, showing up different places. It was just really bad. We had to get the police involved. It was really bad.
Geez.
So that was enough to freak my wife out to where, okay, we're, my wife is a mama bear. And she protects our kids. So that's why, like, people go, you never talk about your kids. I'm like, I know. That's exactly right.
There's a reason.
And my kids, I have such wonderful kids, and we're so tight. We're such a super tight knit family. Like, we have so much fun, and we do everything together. And I have a daughter and a son, and they're both just awesome. Now my son's 25, so his name's Jordan. He's all grown, and he's big. He's big.
So he can take care of himself now.
He can take care of 5 people. He's done MMA and all that stuff. He's in good shape. But my daughter's not. So when I get back, I don't share family photos. I make a separate family book. Like, I'll make a photo book. I'm very big on making photo books. So I will make a photo book of, here's the pictures of us having fun as a family. And now my wife is also phenomenal at chronicling our trips. She is a serious iPhoneographer. She has other cameras and will not touch them. Right. She is really good. She takes pictures. You know what my most common thing that I say? I can't believe you took that with your phone. I mean, that is, she's you know what it is? Her thing is, it's her intention. She doesn't treat it like this is my second phone or my backup phone. She's like, I love this camera. This is my camera. And she shoots it like it's a mirrorless. By the way, it is a mirrorless.
Yeah, sure.
She shoots it. She shoots it like this is my serious camera, and her intention is to make a great shot. And a lot of times, like, we'll go out shooting at dawn or together or whatever, and she's nailing the shots. And I'm like, honey, how did you get it? Where was that? And she's like, oh, come here, I'll take you. And we walk over there. Now, she is a traditional artist. She paints, she draws. She's got a great natural eye, which is, that's cheating. Yeah, that's the thing we're never supposed to speak about in photography, which is talent. That's not fair. So she's cheating, clearly.
Sure.
So I have my family photos, and she has family photos. So we put them together and make a book, and we love that. And that is our memory from the trip. But if I weren't in this situation and I could show my family photos, I would do the entire thing like I do for my serious photography, which is I would use Adobe Spark. Okay. Now, it's free with your whatever subscription you have to Adobe, whatever. But they changed the name of it recently, which freaked everybody out. Now it's called like Adobe Express.
Right.
Which is a weird name for it. But within Adobe Express is Spark Page. And what it is basically is it builds a web page for you, no coding, no nothing. It is the easiest thing. You drag a photo in and you get to decide, do I want it really big, medium big, or do I want to do a little gallery of 6 or 8 photos? And then you type a headline and it automatically formats the text in a headline. And then you type your text. It's magic. Because you need to know nothing. And in my workshops, I have all of my students make a Spark page while we're sitting there in the classroom, because that's how easy it is. It needs 5 minutes of instruction, like click here and type your headline, click here and type your text. You can put a caption here and drag in your photos. It is literally drag and drop. And you can change the order of the photos, but of anything that I've seen online, there is no better way to share your photos from a trip or an event than that Spark page. It takes over your computer. It takes over screen side to side, and your pictures never look better. They seriously, it is. And everybody that's tried it for themselves is like, this is amazing, because Adobe has done all the work for you. All you have to do is literally be able to type sentences and drag and drop an icon. And that's it. It is beautiful. And for storytelling after your trip, I mean, Instagram, your pictures are this big.
Yeah.
They're 1,080 pixels wide, and they don't actually even show that big. They're the width of your phone.
Yeah.
But now they're the width of your screen, and it's such an immersive thing. And if they have an iPad, it automatically reformats for the iPad, for the phone. But on any kind of computer screen, it is a stunning display. and it's free. You're already paying for it. It's
Yeah.
part of your subscription. Go and get it. And it's a web page. It's just to open a browser and start typing. It is
cool.
absolutely just brilliant. And so when I come back from Prague, I'll probably be doing it on the plane. I'll just, open it up and start. And I tell the story of the trip. It is interesting, and you guys know what I'm about to tell you guys. You will already know, but some of your readers may not realize this, but the most read thing in articles are the opening few sentences, the PS at the end of anything, but it's the captions.
Captions. Yeah.
The captions get the most read. Those are the three things that get read: the opening sentence, your closing sentence, and anything that you put in PS. Oh, by the way, people always go and read that. But captions. You can tell your story with just captions. An opening paragraph: hey, we went to Prague and it was great, and I took some friends and we did this and all that, and I'm going to explain the rest in the captions below. And then just a photo and describe what's going on there. And it's like, this isn't a little cafe, and it was so great, and the waiter was funny, and we had this great bread, and we asked for the recipe, and he spit on us. So you can write whatever you want in those, and it just keeps you going. Just write captions, writing captions, because for a lot of people, I think just telling the story is a challenge in words. We're visual storytellers, right? That's what we are as a photographer. I'm telling my story visually, but then I have to explain it in words. But if you say, don't write a big story, don't write a big paragraph, just write the captions, just explain what's going on in this photo. Oh, that's the Coliseum. We got up early, and it's easy from that point. I love that. That's my jam is Adobe Spark.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, that also hits the thing of being frictionless, because, how many times have we gotten back from a trip and, all right, we got thousands of photos to go through, and am I going to do that right away? Well, I'm busy, and then you put it off, and then you realize 6 months have gone by and you haven't said anything about this great trip. So being able to, hit the good shots, the ones that you knew at the time, like, this is one that I want to feature because I really like this experience or this shot, do a little bit of editing in, Lightroom Mobile or whatever, and to be able to have something quickly without having the friction of, wow, I need to do all this, but I can't because I'm exhausted. Well, no, you can do a couple of these now and a couple of these tomorrow, and then you've got something.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's surprisingly easy. I think it does. You do want to do this with your finished photos, though, Jeff, right? You want to make sure they're finished and you sharpened and all that kind of stuff, right? So, but I think that's the harder part is, making your picks and your selects and getting down to, I'm going to crop these, I'm going to finish these, I'm going to make them look good, and then I'm going to create the Spark page. But so cool. It's such a satisfying, and you feel like you've put an ending on your story, right? You've put it together, and people love it. People that are non-photographers love to see your story. And because you were doing the things to come back with pictures, when you have a fixer, you're coming back with pictures that no one else, you're not going to have your friend go, oh, I was there.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I have that
Did
shot.
you break in? Yeah. Did you break in through the window? It's like, here's an interesting thing in Rome. So, the Vatican, it gets so full of people, it's worse than Disney. I mean, it's a massive amount of people, but you can buy a ticket to get in 1 hour before the public. Uh-huh. Anybody can do it, but a fixer told me, went there early, bought the tickets, waited in line, did all the stuff, and we got there, and you're there all by yourself.
Wow!
And it's just, and when they open that door, it's like Disney. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, within 5 minutes, you can't move. And so, but little tips like that and little tidbits make all the difference in the world. And I know I beat the fixer thing to death, but it's the thing that's going to, and I want you to think about, so what's it cost to go to someplace great? I mean, let's just say you're going to go to Vancouver. You're going to fly to Canada. I mean, Vancouver is a wonderful city. You're going to pay for airfare. You've got hotels. You've got transfers. You've got you're going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but you're going to stop $200 short of magical photos. Yeah. Like, spend the $200, get a fixer for, even if it's just one day, and tell the fixer, your fixer will do like a Zoom call with you or something, and say, so what are you looking to see? And say, I want to get into some and I will tell them I love opera houses. I love theaters. I love cathedrals. I love classical, old, big, awesome places. And, you'll be amazed that they'll go, okay, I know a church and, no one really shoots there. And you go in there and you just walk in and your jaw just drops. You're like in Rome, they took me to a church that's all white in the inside. The whole interior is white. And I'm like, wow, I never went, and it's down a side street. You'd never find it. It's not on any map. It's just it's Bob's church, and there's the priest to open the door for you. You're opening, crazy stuff.
It's an incredible tip. I definitely gonna next time I get to travel for real. I'm gonna look at a fixture. And you're saying that Facebook, Instagram, places like that are good places to look for these folks.
Yeah. Now they don't advertise.
Right. You got to ask
to find. So what you have to do is go follow like Steve McCurry, and when he says I was in Bhutan and this is me with my guide, you gotta send him a Twitter, because that's the great thing about Twitter. Like you can't reach the CEO of any company if you call up and say, "Hi, I'd like to speak to the CEO of Ford." They're like. But you can tweet the CEO of Ford, right? So that's the thing is you have access to people that you normally would never be able to speak to on a telephone. But if you tweet and say, "Hey, I saw that you went to Bangladesh, and you got some amazing photos. Do you know a fixer there?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And awesome. Just keep it short and sweet. And a lot of times they'll write back and go, "Oh, I got the greatest guy. They're the best," and they'll just help you out. So I think just asking if you see someone with really remarkable photos from a place, and you can see if these are not the photos that the tourists are getting. It's like you're seeing there's these young monk boys in these orange outfits running through a temple, and they're jumping in the air, and they're doing, and you're like, this photographer, there's somebody is set this up, and they did, and you ask who the fixer is, but because you get a very friendly relationship with your fixers. That if you're a nice person, and this won't work for you guys, but if you're if you're a nice person, you're going to have a great experience beyond just getting good pictures, because you're going to learn about their culture. You're going to learn about them not from a tour guide, because a tour guide is always going to tell you the best possible scenario, right? But a photo fixer will tell you, well, here's what it's really like living here, and here's what our friends do, and they'll tell you bad things like, yeah, this is tough, and this is bad about our economy or our government or about the way we live or the way we think, and you'll get a different side of life from someone who really lives there, really works there. I've had them invite me into their homes. It's just you have a different relationship with them. So when somebody asks you, I'm going to blank, you can't wait to say, "Oh, you got to call this person," Yeah. But as photographers, most of us want to help push the other one down the road, right? We all want to help each other up the hill, and and I think it's a wonderful thing there's certain genres of things. I think photography, I think music. We want to help each other to succeed. Mm-hmm. So if someone were to ask me, "Scott, do you know a fixer in this town?" I can't wait to tell them. And I know that you guys are the same way. If you've got a connection that would help somebody make a better photo, you'd be the first one to tell them. Now that's cheating because you're educators. But but either way, if you weren't, I think it's our nature, because we're all in this creative field together, that we want to see other people succeed and we want to help them. And it's just like when a big secret, this is another travel photography secret. You can buy portable printers this big that are battery powered. And if you go to some place far away and you ask someone to pose and you give them their little picture, they may have never had a portrait of them or their children ever. And you hand them one of those, it changes everything. But it also sets up the next photographer. When someone says, "Can I take your picture?" They can't wait. Mm-hmm. And usually all they want to see is their picture on the back of the camera. Right. They just want to, because they may have never had a photo taken before. And I wound up doing this in a small village in India, and everybody was coming out of their houses left and right just to see the picture on the back of the camera. If I'd have had that printer with me, they're just a couple of $100, and they only make a print, like this big. They're tiny little prints, but they'll have those prints forever. They will have those prints forever, and you're giving them something back. And that's why I tell people, one of the things that people struggle with in travel is photographing people. Mm-hmm. They'll sneak a shot, they'll do a candid, but they never really get someone to pose for them. And I think that if you do get someone to pose for them, and I'll give you my technique here. I wrote about it in the book, but my technique is this. The first thing is, like, you're holding a camera. So you're holding a big, whatever. And you look at someone, you want to take their picture. I smile and I nod like I hold up my camera because I don't speak their language, and I go, hey, I'm going to take your picture. And I'm smiling the whole time. And I take a quick picture, and then I immediately turn the camera around and start walking toward them so they can see the picture. And they'll always come over and look, and they'll smile. And then I just go like, hey, couple more. And now you've got a quick portrait session. The only thing I would tell you is you didn't get 10 minutes with them. You got 1 minute. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Don't overstay your welcome. Just bang, 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 get your shots and roll on. But that's how that a friendly smile and say, like, hey, it's kind of like you're asking permission, but you're going to do it anyway. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if I just take your picture and walk away, I took something from you.
Yeah.
But if I turn my camera around and share it with them, at least they got something out of it. Now we both got something. I got a photo and you got to see the photo. Now, the best thing that you can do, if it is a fairly, industrialized country, is to email them the photo and actually do it. Get their email address and send them the photograph. Now, if you shoot like a mom and their kid, you have to do it. They may not want a picture of themselves so badly, but if their kids are in it or their family's in it, now it really means something to them. And the worst thing that's happened to me is I've done that, and then the photo, it bounces back. Like I don't have the exact right email. I feel terrible because I know how much they want it, but that also sets up the next photographer for success. That when someone else says, "Can I take your picture?" they had a good experience, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead and take my picture." Also, people that are most likely to pose for you are your fixer, your taxi cab driver, your Uber driver, and there's an Uber everywhere. So if you're thinking, I'm not going to find an Uber driver in Rome, that's how I get around Rome, is Uber. They're everywhere. And your waiter or waitress or your server in the restaurant. And I like to get that picture. I can tell them when they're bringing my food, I go, wait, let me get my camera ready. Can you put my food down one more time? Because, I did a bunch of research, and I talk about this in the book. I did a bunch of research on what kind of photos wind up in big travel magazines. Like, what is it? So I bought every magazine I could buy, multiple copies, back issues, and I started writing down what is in these because those magazines are designed to do one thing: make you want to go to that place. Yeah. And that's what I think makes a successful travel photo. If you show me a photo and I go, oh, I got to go there, that's a win. So what do they put in these magazines? Well, I wrote about it all. I went through, I think there's a whole chapter on here's what to shoot, because I want to give people a shot list so they don't just show up and I'm in Budapest. What do I shoot? Do I just go shoot the cathedral? Like, I put a list of what's in there. So the things that you see most often in these magazines are photos of old people, photos of very young people. But I don't ever shoot children without getting a parent's permission. Don't ever just start shooting someone's kids. Like, all right.
Not cool.
Food is one of the main reasons we travel. We love to try the food of other cultures and other places. So the food part is very, very big. Lots of shots of food, lots of shots of the city, or not lots of shots, but an article will generally have a shot of a city from a high vantage point.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get that high shot? Well, some places have a tower. Some places have an observation deck. London's got the Shard in different places. Paris, obviously the Eiffel Tower, but there's many places. There is the highest building in France has an observatory on the top in France with a view of the Eiffel Tower and holes cut out of the plexiglass so you can put your lens through. But those views, you can also, my favorite tip is to stay in a hotel that's a tall hotel and ask for a tall room, a room on a high floor, or just go to a hotel with a room and go to the concierge. Don't go to the manager. Go to the concierge and say, hey, I saw you have a rooftop bar. I'm a photographer and I would love to take a picture. Now, they don't know that you're not a hotel guest. You're there at the concierge desk. They're assuming you're a guest in the hotel. They don't think, this guy just walked in off the street. So go to the Hilton, go to the concierge, because the manager is not going to let you in the rooftop bar in the afternoon. There's no way. The manager doesn't want you up there.
Yeah.
Because the manager does not work for tips. The concierge does. So if you say, can I just get 15 minutes up there to take some shots of the city from the top? The concierge can't get you up there fast enough because they're going to get a tip.
Yeah.
The manager, the front desk clerk, it's got to be the concierge.
Yeah.
Now, if you're concerned that they think that you're not a guest, here's what you do. Go in the hotel, go in the elevator, go up to any floor, wait 10 minutes, come down, and when you come out of the elevator, make eye contact with the concierge. So they see you coming out of an elevator, you're clearly a guest.
Sure.
You know what I had one do? They said, I can't get you on the rooftop, but how about if I get you up to one of the suites where someone checked out and you can shoot from the balcony? That would be great.
I
They
suppose.
did. The room wasn't even clean. But
we
who
must.
cares? They went upstairs, they opened the door, let me in, and I'm out there on the balcony shooting. Yeah, it's great. But a lot of smiles. Smiles help. Be friendly and be nice and just, hey, I wonder if you can help me out with this. I'm a photographer from America. This is my first time to Budapest ever. And I gotta come home with a shot of this beautiful city from up above. Is there any way you could let me on the rooftop bar for just 5 minutes? Just 5 minutes. Let me get a couple of shots. And they're like, I'm sure that can be arranged. They're
They'll make it happen.
yeah. Concierges are wonderful. They're
And then
people
you
who work
tip
for
them,
tips
right?
are
I mean,
highly motivated.
Then you've got to tip them, which is important.
Yeah.
No,
Don't
you
get your
must
shot
tip them.
and walk,
This
right?
is
Don't forget that part.
no.
I'll tip you when I check out.
Tip is absolute.
So
We gotta, Mason. We gotta hang you and me. We gotta go shoot someplace.
So I would love that. There's a couple of questions. I'm looking at your book, and you've got that section of shoot this, and then it switches to skip this. And I really like that because I think a lot of times when people travel, they feel like they're in this target-rich environment. They just have to blast away at everything, and they have to get all of the cliche photos. And I love that you're saying, I actually did some research, and these are the photos that appeal to people. With social media, people feel like, I can post any photo I took, and people are going to give it some likes. But you're very clear in the book. You want to skip certain things because people really don't like them. So
They really don't.
yeah, and there was a couple things in there. One of them was animals. Don't take pictures of animals, and I thought that was really interesting because I know a lot of folks who travel, and a big part of their travel photography is wildlife. And you're saying that's, I think what you're saying is if that's what you're there to do, then do that.
Oh yeah,
But
that's different.
If you see some goats on the side of the road,
Don't
snapshot
take the
of some
goat
goats,
shot.
just save your energy.
They're goats. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will see people spend like 20 minutes shooting these goats, and when you get home, you look at those photos and you're like, "What was I doing?" Because it's like, and you shoot like a dog or a cow or just some weird thing. It's just like it is. No one sees that shot and goes, "Oh, goats."
I'm sure glad you got that shot
Man,
of those goats.
nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it. And so, and this is from my own experience. I'm looking through these thousands of shots from all these trips because I've been traveling since I was a very young man, and there's not a good one in there. And I look at other people's shots, and they've got a picture of just this is the donkey that took us to the top of the hill. It's good to get the shot so you remember, oh yeah, we took a donkey to get up there. But it is not good to show in your photography slideshow.
Yeah.
Because there are shots that you want so you can remember things, but that's not the photographer in you. That is the trip historian, right? There's two you, right? Just like I make the family book, I would include the donkey. Remember that donkey? That was crazy. But I'm not making an artistic photo of a donkey or a goat or some chickens or some roosters. I don't care how good the light is on that chicken. It's like, unless it's a chicken sandwich, don't bring that shot home. But I'm serious. I see people bring home like shots of chickens. Like, what are you doing? Now that is different than wildlife photography. Don't go to Africa and don't come back. Like, I didn't take any shots because Scott said
not to shoot
animals.
pictures of animals.
No animals.
No.
That elephant came up to our room, but I'm not gonna.
And I was right there, and we had peanuts, and so that's not what I mean. But it's like when you shoot these animals that you see along the way, the shots are always like, why did I shoot that? So don't shoot the chickens.
Yeah, it's like photos from windows, photos through windows. Yeah.
Yeah. These llamas by the side of the road are amazing. Hang on, let me grab my reflector, and I've got a little speed light here, and
you're spending all this time, and you get home, and you're like,
llama.
I spent 20 minutes shooting these dumb llamas.
Yeah, I think for me, especially as I get older, one of the things that I'm really conscious of is how much energy I have. I have a bucket full of energy in the morning, and I want to finish the day with a few drops left in there. And if I'm stopping to take pictures of goats, I'm pouring out some of that energy on those goats. I may not have it for later in the day. And I think that's one of the traps that photographers, broader than just travel photography, but photographers in general, they're like, I spent $10,000 on this gear. My wife's looking at me like, aren't you going to use it? And you're like, I got to make a lot of photos or I'm not a photographer. And I am somebody who's like, if the light isn't magical and I'm saving myself for later in the day, I don't need to be a photographer for a few hours. And I think you brought this up, you mentioned this when you take your afternoons off. So I want to kind of wrap that part of that thought up a little bit. As you are in these times where you're not wearing your photographer hat and you don't feel the pressure to make photos, is it okay as a traveling photographer? Is it okay to say, I'm just going to keep that as a memory and I'm not going to make a photo?
Oh, of course. I think the most important part is not that you come home with incredible photos. It's that you enjoy your trip. Now, I've taken, and this is just a handful, I don't think it's 5 or 6, I think it's a couple, where I went to a particular place to do photography. Like, I went there with buddies. We went there and we're going to hardcore shoot and just go. But most of my travel is done with my family. And I would rather enjoy the trip and enjoy the experience and have great food and great fun and laughter. And if I get some great shots too, that's fun. But really, the vacation comes first. Yeah. And being with my family, it's like, and I could always say, well, I want to come back here on my own without the family and do some serious photography. Now, I'm very lucky that my wife takes her photography so seriously because she wants to shoot all the time. And it used to be, before she started shooting her iPhone, she's waiting on me. Mm-hmm. And now I'm trying to find out where she's at. And I know if she's missing, she's someplace really cool. So I got to go find, because she's found that one place in this cathedral that I didn't know about. And she shows me the shot. And I'm like, where's that? You got to take me back there. Yeah. But no, I really think at the end of the day, I love travel. So if I don't have my camera, I'm going to have a wonderful time. But I want to take my camera because I want to document the trip so I can remember it. I tell you what, you know what my big regret is? I have a weird regret. And I would say this to your listeners. I don't shoot enough video. Not on my mirrorless. I don't want to. That's a whole nother area of weird. Yeah. But every time I shoot video on my phone, I absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. I've got a video of my brother and myself and my friend Mimo on a bridge in Venice, and I've watched that video 100 times, and it's like being there. Yeah. It's a different feeling, and I don't want to become a videographer. It's not me. I enjoy editing video. I don't really enjoy shooting it very much. But those videos, and so my thing that I'm trying to change and I'm going to work on in Prague is to shoot 10 times more video just on my phone, just for 15-second clips, because I really, really realized that I regret and not having done more of that. Of just, hey, we're all at the dinner table. Hey, here's everybody who's here. Hey, say hi, everybody. And how was this food? You know, and that's it. Just like that long, not much longer. And I'm not going to put it together into a movie, but I love going through my phone and looking at those video clips. I regret not shooting more video in past trips, and I'm going to try to fix that moving on. But I agree. We have a limited amount, especially as we get older, a limited amount of energy. And, I think the best thing you can do is you can grab either a 45-minute nap or a 2-hour and 10-minute nap, right? So the U.S. Navy did this research based on jet fighters. And they said if you want restful sleep that is meaningful, it has to be less than 45 minutes or more than 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because if you go an hour and a half, you wake up feeling worse than you did. So it's less than 45. So I will literally set an alarm for 45 minutes. I fall asleep immediately. I could fall asleep anywhere. I could fall asleep in the middle of this podcast, almost have twice. So no, I'm totally kidding. I fall asleep really fast, like lightning fast. So if I set 45 minutes, I'll be asleep in 2 minutes and I'll get 43 minutes of sleep. But if you can grab a nap in the middle of the day, it recharges your batteries just like anything else, just like plugging in your laptop or plugging in your phone. It recharges your batteries because ideally you're gonna get 2 wonderful times to shoot at sunset and at sunrise, and you want to be fully present there so you do a great job. Yeah. And then the rest of the day you're on vacation, and a lot of times I'm riding on buses and all because, we decided to take a winery tour or, we're going to go buy some drugs or something. So, no, I'm totally kidding. But
that's not a good thing. This isn't being recorded.
I didn't see that part.
That's not in that.
That's the other fixer.
That's the other fixer.
Yeah, no. I lead a very just boring life. I don't drink. I don't do anything. It's like I do eat though, and I super love that. Yeah. I do it numerous times a day. I mean, every day, like 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's like it's a thing now. But I really do. I enjoy the travel aspect of travel so much that if I'm not shooting every minute, it's okay. It's okay. But I do want to shoot more video, just to. It's that clip from Italy where I look and there's my brother and it's just a beautiful day, and it's a different kind of memory than a photograph is. So it's just I realize that, and I think that's an area that I'm already carrying it. It's already right there with me.
We have these great cameras.
I'm using it all day long, and I'm using it for GPS and how to get to my next location and all this kind of stuff. And I want to just go like this. Yeah. And I don't know if you realize this. Here's the iPhone travel tip. While you're shooting video, there actually is, if you look on screen, a little white button. That is the shutter button. It will take a still while you're shooting video. So, and what's nice is they're widescreen. They fill the whole screen. So why? Riddle me this, gentlemen. Why? When I take video on my phone, it fills the whole screen. But when I take a photograph, I've got a black bar on the left and a black bar on the right. Why? Obviously, Apple has the technology to let you take a full screen picture because you can do it when you're in video mode. Why won't Apple let us take a picture that fills the whole screen? Come on.
Yeah.
How many years has the iPhone been around with a camera in it? Forever.
And it's not like they put any development effort into the cameras at all. The cameras being a side thought or something.
So Jeff, do you know how many people, I read this in an article, do you know how many people at Apple are working just on the camera? How many employees at Apple are just working on the camera?
It's hundreds, right?
800 plus are working just because they know that it is the number one reason that people will upgrade. If the camera is better,
absolutely.
It is, because otherwise, does it still make calls? Yep. Does it still have internet? Yep. Does it do everything else? Yep. What's better? Camera.
Well, it's the most popular camera in the world.
Yeah. More photos are taken with an iPhone than any other camera, by far.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife, when she went, so pre-pandemic, went to Serbia and Croatia and did like one of these boat tours with her mom, which was just this great experience. And she wanted to take photos, but she had no interest in taking like a camera. And so the iPhone 11 Pro had just come out. And she got that because it had the telephoto lens. I think the 11 was the first one to have like the dedicated telephoto, or maybe that was the first 3-lens ones. Anyway,
First 3 lens, yeah.
Yeah, and that's all she wanted, and she got some great photos because she could zoom in a little bit, and it's not a huge zoom, but it's makes the difference when you're standing on this boat and there's this nice church or something that you've pulled up to, and just to be able to zoom in just a little bit and get that optically, she was totally happy with all of her shots, and had this great experience with her mom. It was great, and she never once, I would say like maybe once, she wished she had more reach that a camera would give her, but she definitely didn't want to carry around stuff.
Right.
She didn't want all the stuff that I think a lot of us just sort of assume. Well, I'm a photographer, so I'm going to have camera body, lens, backup lens, it's extra batteries, all that stuff. And she had a fantastic time, made great photos, and didn't have any of that clutter.
Yeah, don't sleep on that, on what the iPhone can do. Hey, Jeff, I don't want to make this the longest podcast in the history of your thing, so I'm sorry, but is it okay if I share one more story, because it's an iPhone photography versus mirrorless versus that stuff story that I just shared this in a keynote presentation, for this other conference, but. So I mentioned that I did a workshop in China, right? So I'm there, and my co-instructor was Rick Salmon, and I know you guys know who Rick is. Yeah. Rick's a wonderful guy, great shooter, and just a fun guy. His wife is a serious iPhoneographer like mine. She's seriously really, really into it. So we're out in the middle of nowhere, China, literally. Like we had to take buses, and then we had to hike, and then we had to take a raft, and it was scary, and it was just weird, and it's through dawn, and we have these fishermen that are a fixer set up for us, these great fishermen, and we're in these tall, crazy mountains and all, and it was just an amazing scene. And we're all set up, and we've all got our big gear out there, and I got my big tripod, and I got my big boy camera and all, right? So I'm sitting there, and I'm shooting, and Rick's wife, Susan, walks over. And she goes, look, and she shows me Instagram, and there is the picture that she just took up on Instagram, posted live. And I'm like, and I'm standing there, and her picture looks fantastic. Right. It's the scene that's in front of us. We have beautiful light, and it's a beautiful scene, and she's taking a beautiful picture. And I'm thinking to myself, and hear me out, ready? I'm thinking, okay, so her photo's on Instagram. For me to get my photo on Instagram, I have to pack up my gear. And I have to hike. Then I can take a raft, and then I have to hike some more. Then I get on a bus, and I go for 2 hours. Then I switch to a smaller bus because the big bus can't get to our hotel, so I switch to a smaller bus. I get to my hotel. I get out my memory card reader. I pop out the card. I load the images into my computer. I go through and sort them. I find the one I like. I edit it, and ready? I have to upload it back to my phone. Yes. I have to go back onto my phone. I have to launch Instagram. From the camera roll, I have to import the photo into Instagram. And then here it is, hours later, I can finally upload my image, while Susan had it on Instagram while we're standing on this little dirt mound in the river. And so while I'm sitting there pondering all this, the fishermen are taking their nets, and they're throwing them up in the air, way up in the air. These nets kind of fall, and they make this beautiful pattern, and they eventually hit the water, right? And so Susan comes over and goes, look what I did. And she's using the slow-mo video feature where you see the fisherman take the net, he reels back, but then it goes into super, super slow-mo. And this thing moves, and you're just like, we're all sitting around looking at it and going, oh my gosh. And then, of course, we all take out our phones, and we start shooting the exact same thing. But she's doing this with her phone. The video looks amazing. The photos look amazing. They're edited. They're online, and she's using apps and stuff. Like my wife, one of my wife's favorite apps is I believe it's just called either Touch Retouch or just called Retouch. And you know what it does for 99 cents? If you take a picture and there's a power line, you don't trace it to get rid of the power line. You just tap the power line. It knows it, and it gets rid of it.
Wow.
Photoshop doesn't even do that. It sees the power line. You just tap and say, wait, there's 3 power lines. 1, whoop, 2, whoop, 3, whoop, done. It's 99 cents. I'm just like, are you kidding me?
It's
because I can't even I have to carefully trace them with my mouse or my pen using Photoshop. But of course, first I have to get the image from my phone over to my laptop. I mean, it's just like, we're living in a world where people are there. And that's why I wanted to be careful earlier when I mentioned the iPhone, that I don't look down on it. I look up to it. It does things that my DSLR to this day still cannot do. And I'm just like, I'm amazed with what it can do. Now, in September, we're going to wind up with a new iPhone. And can I tell you something? If they put a real telephoto in it, I mean a real telephoto, because right now, the zoom on the iPhone is very limited. It is a zoom, but it's very, very limited. You can digitally zoom, but then your quality goes down. Right?
Yeah.
Now, some of the other camera brands are, and this is going to sound crazy what I'm about to tell you, have found a way to do a telephoto. The reason Apple has not done a real telephoto lens, is that Apple does not want lenses sticking outside the body.
Yep.
Right? That would look aesthetically bad, and they would break and all kinds of bad stuff. So what these other manufacturers have done that have real telephoto, like 10x optical zooms, 10x and 20x, they've taken the camera and put it vertically inside the body and put a mirror. Yeah. They put a flipping mirror. They made a DSLR. They went backwards. They went from a mirrorless to a DSLR where it's going vertically. There's a mirror, and then it takes the shot.
Yeah, it's
and
a
I imagine that's...
Yeah,
periscope. And
camera,
I think that's exactly what Apple's next move is going to be. When Apple has an optical 10 or 20x zoom, what is that going to mean for the DSLR and mirrorless markets? Seriously. And right now they're at 12 megapixels, which quite frankly is all you need, and they know that. There's no sense in having a 54 megapixel phone, even though they're out there.
Yeah.
But, let's just say that they bump it up to 18 or something, And so you can crop in a little tighter. But the reason why we need more megapixels is to crop in tighter is because it doesn't have a telephoto lens.
Right.
But if it did, guys, what is that going to do to the camera market? Like when you can zoom 10x optical or 20x optical, and it's crisp and it's as sharp as your regular, because your iPhone in good light with a wide lens is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And my buddy just was testing the Samsung new phone, and he said, overall, the camera, He said, but dude, in low light, it is unbelievable. It is light years ahead of the iPhone in low light, but it's not as good as the iPhone in good light. Right there, it's not nice, but he said, but in low light, it's phenomenal. When you start bringing these few little pieces together, you take the low light from the Samsung, you take the 20x and 10x zooms and all, and you bring it into the world's most popular camera. You're going to make a hard case for me to spend $2,600 on a body and then $2,800 because the price of lenses. It's weird. Lenses are converging. You've got really, really sharp lenses for cheap amount of money. And then you've got these super expensive, crazy lenses. Canon just introduced 2 lenses, 2 weeks ago? One of them was $16,000 and the cheaper one's $12,999.
Yeah, cheaper one.
Yeah.
But you can buy $300 lenses today that are just, incredibly sharp and useful and stuff. So it's a really neat, interesting, scary, wonderful time that we're in as photographers right now. And I think... I don't sleep on the iPhone, period. At the very least, it's your backup, but it does things that your regular camera can't do, and so you should take advantage of that. It's better at panos. It does panos and stitches them together for you right there on the spot. Its built-in HDR is fantastic. There are a lot of things it does better than your other camera. So use the two together. When you're traveling, don't sleep on that iPhone.
Yeah. I tell folks in my travel photography class that it's a great camera. It's actually 3 great cameras if you have an iPhone. It's 3 great cameras that fit in your pocket, that have GPS. They have all your guidebooks in there, your music, your email, your text. Mm-hmm. It's also a phone. It's all this stuff in a pocket. And when you take that camera out to take photos of people, they don't bat an eye. But you pull out your 70 to 200 and you aim it at them, they're like, I'm getting photographed. I think the iPhone is a fantastic travel camera. I consider it my backup. When I'm carrying a single body, I don't think that I'm taking extreme risks because I have a decent camera in my pocket. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and just to follow up, that's what I was going to say was people will not give you any guff for having a phone because everybody has a phone and everybody's taking a picture of whatever it is you're taking a picture with their phone. And so just that freedom, as a traveler gives you, the space to move and the space to, hopefully catch people unaware if something cute is happening or someone's doing something interesting, because as we all know, you take out a real camera, like everything changes a bit. People are like, oh well, how am I going to look? If you're just putting your phone out there, it's like, oh, it's another American with a phone.
Yeah, it's friendly.
The other thing we haven't gotten into at all on this is the fact that when I take a photo with my phone, if I'm near a cell tower, I'm having instant redundant backups made of my images. So if I drop my phone in the Danube, my photos aren't gone. My precious images are instantly backed up and available on all my other devices.
They are. It's amazing.
Incredible. What a wild time we live in. So, Scott, I have one more question. I know this is our longest podcast episode ever, but it's definitely worth it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's great. It's great. This is Jeff and I can only talk so long, but when we have somebody like Scott Kelby, you got to make the most of it. I'm looking at the guitars on your wall and the guitars on the rack next to you, and one of the things that I bring up a lot in my classes is the parallels between musicians and photographers. And I think that when it comes to creative endeavors, when it comes to artistry, musicians and photographers are kin because we're using technology and our own human creativity and our hands, and all of these things are working together to make our product. As a guitarist, as a musician, how has that affected you as a photographer? When it comes to gear, when it comes to your experience of making music and photos?
Well, one thing it has done, because I've spent so much time in my post-processing, it's not made me scared of learning audio software. So I am the soft drums. Is it running back here? Hang on. Let's see if my Apple Watch will actually open it. But running behind me, one second here, I'm going to pop this open, is Logic Pro X, which is an Apple product, and it is the Photoshop of audio. Mm-hmm. It's very deep. Dude, it's deep. And it's taken me a lot to learn it. It is very challenging, and it's really, really fun. But I think that the fact that I work daily in Lightroom and I work daily in Photoshop made me realize I can learn this. Mm-hmm. It's just another tool, right? It's kind of like what you just said. I play keyboards. That's probably my main instrument. That's why I always call myself a struggling guitar player, because I'm really a keyboard player.
Oh, okay.
I'm a drummer. I'm a drummer as well. So I got those pads over here it's a drum set.
Oh, cool.
And it's got 9 pads. It's got 9 pads, and then I have a bass drum pedal connected to it, because I started on drums and then I moved to keyboards and then guitar, and I play bass. And so I play all these different things, but it's kind of just like I also photograph all kinds of different things. I'm a travel photographer, I'm a sports photographer, and I'm a portrait photographer. So I think that the two are so close. There's so many so many photographers I know that are musicians because I think they go hand in hand. We're telling a story. We're storytellers. Some of us tell with words. And like, I know that you guys recently had Joe McNally on. And I think Joe McNally is one of the greatest storytellers of our time. When Joe finally does pass away, and I hope it's many, many years from now, he is going to be a guy that they study in college in the history of photography because he is an incredible storyteller. He's a brilliant writer. His writing is great. If you ever get to hear Joe speak and like give a presentation, he's an incredibly gifted communicator.
Yeah, he is.
And then he's a visual storyteller.
Yeah.
Right? And music is just an extension of the story that we want to tell. It's a different way of telling our story. We tell our story with photos. We tell our story with video. We tell our story with music. But also, photography and music have a way of uniting people across all over the world. Each year, I sponsor a thing that we started 14 years ago called the Scott Kelby Worldwide Photo Walk. And in 1,000 cities around the world, groups of 50, and it's not always 50. 50 is the maximum. Sometimes it's 13 people, 22 people, whatever.
Yeah.
Around the world get together on a particular day, and we're raising money for the Springs of Hope Orphanage in Nakuru, Kenya. So everybody pays $1 to do it. And we take all that money, and 100% of it goes to the orphanage every year. And they count on it. It really helps them. And it's a great thing to get photographers together. We take millions of photos that day. It's like 25,000 people all over the world getting together. And the one thing that I ask each town that signs up, each city, and they're all over, is to send a group shot. Just send a group shot so I can just see, we can share them. And when you look around the world and here's Cairo, Egypt, and 50 photographers, and they got DSLRs, they got mirrorless, they got everything, and they're smiling and they're all having fun. And then here's a province in China, and here's this group. And here's Japan, and here's Brazil, and here's France, and all over the world, and everyone's enjoying the same thing. You know, it's if you ever look at what's going to bring people together, right? It's things like this. It's music festivals, it's photography, it's movies, it's creativity. We have way more in common than we have differences. And I think that when you meet other photographers, and I've got to shoot with photographers all over the world, every time I do a photo walk, I use that as an excuse to go to another city. Because I tell my wife, honey, I'm going to lead a photo walk, and I have to go to Innsbruck, Austria. And so I go there.
I have to.
Right?
I just have to.
I have to. And what's neat about it is 10 of my photographer friends, we all get together. We call ourselves Team Epic. And we all get together. And we all just hang out and shoot until the photo walk, and then we do the photo walk. But here I am in some other country where I may not speak the language, or I'm kind of, I'm not good at Austrian. And you meet all these photographers, and everyone's so nice, and we're all enjoying the same things. And you realize, I've been all over the world. I've been to communist countries. I've been to Cuba. I've been to China numerous times. I've been all over. And you know what? People are the same everywhere. The governments are different, right? Governments and politics are different, but people all want the same thing, right? They want to have a good job. They want to feed their families. They want their kids to have a good education. They want to enjoy good food. They enjoy music. They love the same music, right? And so it is one of the best things about traveling is meeting other people and realizing how much we have in common. It is amazing how much we're all the same. And it's amazing how you're in Egypt and you're talking to photographers there and they're like, so what's a good lens? Is this thing really sharp? It's the same. They were all the same. Yeah. It's just so funny, but it's also very endearing, and it's very, I love it. It's wonderful. And I think that it's, these things all bind us together, and it's like, we really are. We're so much. I mean, I've met people from everywhere, and some of the times it's been on speaking gigs and stuff, and I've met instructors and photographers from Palestine. I've met photographers from Vietnam, from Cambodia, from everywhere, and the Philippines. Man, the Philippines has got some good photographers. Holy, I don't know what's going on there. The Philippines, I don't know. They're stacking the deck, man.
Yeah.
They are really, really, really good. I had a bunch of Philippine photographers join me in Paris in my Paris photo walk. And of course, they were shooting lights out. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, but these are the things we need to focus on. You know, you want to bring the world together, and let's all do this kind of stuff together. Music and photography and painting and art and all. It's like, you know, there's so many wonderful things in life. And I know that we are inundated with all the bad things. Because, you know, we don't want to hear fun, happy news. We say we want to, but we don't. My local news station switched a few years ago and said, we're not going to tell any more bad news. We're just going to be all day long everything good news. It lasted 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Wonderful things happen all over the world every day. Every day, museums open their doors. Fabulous museums. People enjoy incredible art. Photographic museums. People are in there staring at these wonderful images and just like, wow. Every day, photographers around the world are just trying to get better. We're all just trying to get better at what we're doing. If we're cooking, we want to make better meals. If we're playing guitar, we want to sound better and stop playing so sloppy. Oh, that's just me. And whatever it is, we just want to get better. Let's all just help each other down the road. Let's just, you know, and you guys are doing this today with your podcast. This is what you're doing. You're doing this because you love sharing. You want to help people. You know that you've learned things along the road that can help the next person. And so, you know, high five to you both for taking the time. And I'm very grateful that you gave me this opportunity to chat with your viewers and stuff. This has been a blast. You guys are awesome. I'm telling you, we have to go shooting. Seriously, the three of us, we got to go. We would have so much fun. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know you like Portland. I'm in Portland, so donuts are on me next time you come out.
Love Portland. Oh, man, I would love to do that. And Jeff, you're in Seattle, did you say?
I'm in Seattle. It's 3 hours driving down. It'd be easy to go to Portland.
But you know what?
He can
So
come
normally, before pandemic, I would be in Portland once a year, in Seattle once a year. But now that I know where you guys are, I mean, I'm not doing my road tour now, but when it cranks back up, I'm coming to see both of you. Let's go have dinner. Let's get up early. You go shooting. I'm telling you, we would have the best time. Oh my gosh, we would have the best fun.
Totally have a blast.
Totally
have a blast.
Now, but don't tell anybody else because we don't want to ruin it.
Don't tell anybody else.
We have to get up super early.
And let's get secrets and don't tell anybody. Let's find secret locations and never share them.
I've got a few. I could be a fixer.
Ooh, see. All right, that's what we need, a fixer in Portland. Can we go?
Yes.
Can we go to Voodoo Donuts?
I got
Is it
better
okay
donuts.
if afterwards?
I can introduce you to better donuts than Voodoo.
No.
Yeah.
I know.
That's the secret. That's the secret. Voodoo is like, definitely go there because it's an experience.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But there are better donuts.
Yeah, Voodoo's like the donuts you go to on the bus tour. And then I will take you and get the key and unlock the lock and bring you into the good donuts.
You've got dudes. This is, I'm telling
It's
you,
true.
Jeff, Mason, I'm coming.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
coming.
Standing invitation.
He'll do donuts,
I'll give
and then
you
when
a
you're in
good
Seattle,
30
I'll do
days
coffee.
notice.
Yep.
All right. Okay, that sounds great.
Well, Scott, it's been such a pleasure. I really could talk to you all day. You're an engaging guy. We love your work. I have enjoyed your workshops in the past. I've enjoyed your videos. I've learned a lot from you over the years.
You're very kind.
Really like this new book. I like this style, so I'm going to point people to that. It's out on Rocky Nook, and we'll have links in our show notes to all of these things. But Rocky Nook has got the travel photography book. Am I saying it right? It's such a simple title.
That's it. Yeah.
The travel photography book. And
I went with the really easy names there.
It's so easy. Joe's book is wonderful, but the title is like 6 miles long. But the travel photography book is great. The other books in the series are also awesome. I also want to point out that you've got a wonderful blog, and it's always got interesting guest blog people on there, which I think is. Most blogs are just one voice. This is a myriad of awesome voices. You've got a great piece up just recently from Chris Orwig, one of my favorite portrait photographers.
Chris is so good. Isn't he good?
He's amazing. I just love his style. So, check out your blog, which is scottkelby.com, right?
Yep.
And, of course, you're also a big part of Kelby One and Photoshop World. You do everything, right? And you do it all. every day.
No, I used to do everything. Now I just do some things.
You just does some things, but
I don't want to get in the way of my guitar.
The
Gives you more
Kelby
time
name's
to
on a
travel.
lot of stuff. So we appreciate you taking the time.
Awesome.
I know you're super busy, and you know you got a standing invitation in the Pacific Northwest next time you're out here.
Oh, thanks. I'm coming. I'll give you 30 days notice.
That sounds
Sounds
good.
great.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. Sure had fun.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Scott.